Late afternoon, everybody, early evening. Great to see so many people here. Good turnout, as we always do at these events. I think you all know who I am. I'm Judith Isherwood. I'm the General Manager of DMR Tourism, and we've got Kerry Clark, who I know is known to all of you. And Miles is looking after technology tonight, because as we've done with the last of our few industry briefings, we have a lot of interest in what we talk about at these briefings, but for many people running their businesses, they find it really hard to step out and come to these events. So we're live streaming the event on our Facebook site, and then we will record, the recording of this will then sit on our website. So you can always access this information after the fact, if you don't pick up on everything tonight. Or if you want to encourage colleagues and people that you know who might be interested in this information, get them to jump onto our website and you'll be able to access all the information. So for us, this is the beginning of the financial year, even though being August, you're at that time when it's really busy and you're looking forward to Christmas. But we've just come off the back of a really, really busy 12 months for our last financial year, with some real success in the region. Some of you may have seen, those of you who attended our conference, or those of you who've been to previous briefings, will have heard some of the kind of headlines of what we've been able to achieve in the last 12 months. We are now touted by Visit Victoria as being their poster child region, because visitation is growing at such a rate in this region, far exceeding the average for the rest of regional Victoria. So we're on the right path, and we just want to continue to grow and develop as a region, and to really capitalise on all of the assets that we have in this region, the experiences that we have in this region that are being discovered more and more by visitors and people interested in visiting. So the purpose of tonight is just to run you through, take you through some of the big picture decisions and work that we've done. Lynn, we've only just started, Lynn. Then I'm going to hand over to Kerry, who's going to take you through some of the detail of the marketing opportunities in particular that we've got coming up over the next 12 months that really form the backbone to our partner program. And again, there's some really exciting initiatives coming through with that. So the first big news that we've got to tell you is that the boundaries of our region have changed. So let me just take you back a little bit to explain the journey of where we've got to where we are now. When the Daylesford and Macedon regions was first constituted back in the early 2000s, back when what we call the campaign committees were in place, being run by Tourism Victoria, the heart of the region was really what is now the Macedon Ranges Shire and the Hepburn Shire. And then over time, and I won't go into too much of the detail of this because some of it is lost in the mists of time, we haven't been able to find a lot of documentation around it, but over time a number of other local council areas, local government areas, attached themselves to this region. The Shire of Mitchell attached itself to the region, the Shire of Melton, the City of Melton, the Shire of Moorabool in its entirety considered itself part of this region, and also, for some curious reason, part of the City of Hume attached itself to this region. So that was the area around Sunbury, Diggers Rest, down around there. And over time, when those other local councils first joined into the region, they were providing a little bit of money. So no doubt the board that was in place at the time said, well, if you're going to pay a bit of money, we'll include you in the region. And so what happened was that the region kind of just kept growing and its boundaries kept growing. However, over time, as things changed, some of those councils stopped putting money in the pot. And really, I can understand why. The City of Melton is now, for all intents and purposes, it feels like an outer suburb of Melbourne. And certainly large parts of Hume, moving out towards Sunbury, with the urban sprawl that's happening out that way, increasingly feel less part of regional Victoria and more part of outer Melbourne. Equally, we've had many discussions with places like the Shire of Mitchell, which takes you right up to Seymour, Broadford, Kilmore, those areas. There's very little tourism product out that way, and hence that council chose not to participate in the regional tourism activity. So the board, as part of the work that we've been doing, which I know we've talked about in various other forums, of trying to really sharpen our focus as a region about what is our core brand positioning of the region, which, as we've said, is really, as we've talked elsewhere, and I'll touch on a little bit in a moment, is around that wellness proposition. Really off the basis of this part of Victoria being the heart of where the mineral springs are located in Victoria, this kind of central Victorian mineral springs area. And there are no mineral springs of note in Mitchell. There are none in the Hume area. And so the board started to really say, well, look, if we're going to have real clarity around we're bringing some more seats in. If we're going to have some real clarity around our brand positioning, and if we're going to be able to deliver on the promise of that brand positioning to visitors, we really need to concentrate the region where those experiences relate to that wellness positioning. And so we the board made the decision that this is the right time to now say to Hume, the Sunbury area now needs to relate to Melbourne. The same was done with Melton, and Mitchell is now playing much more closely with the Goulburn River Valley tourism up around Shepparton, which is where most of the businesses now relate to. So we've taken the opportunity to redraw our boundaries. Interestingly, when we advised Visit Victoria, which was Tourism Victoria, which was the body that originally set the campaign, the regions, they kind of said, well, of course, we didn't quite realise that the boundaries had changed over the years. So I think we're all now in agreement that this is the right shape, the right boundary to the region. We have extended it slightly for those of you who are eagle-eyed in the north of the region to include the area around Castlemaine and Talbot on the left-hand side there. Again, I won't go into too much detail, but Castlemaine is only 20 minutes down the road from Daylesford. Many of the visitors who come to Daylesford move on to Castlemaine. Castlemaine currently sits in the region that's called the tourism region that's called the Goldfields region, and that region is a bit different to any other region in the state, tourism region in the state, in that the shape is Ballarat, Bendigo, and what I like to call the bit in the middle, which is where Castlemaine sits. And so the area around Castlemaine has felt a little bit like it's in no man's land, and there's a very strong synergy with a lot of what happens there with the wellness positioning around our region. Equally, there are some mineral springs located just outside Castlemaine. So again, there's a logic to the way we're shaping the region. So this is really the first opportunity that we've had to talk about that changed boundary, but we are now rolling that out into all of our materials as we go forward in this financial year. But certainly all the stakeholders that we've talked about to date have all said, great, that just makes sense, there's a logic to it, and it's going to give us a real focus now to our continuing emphasis on this wellness positioning for the region.
Can I ask a question?
Yep.
If that's the pie, what's the breakup of revenue by, do you call these regions, what do you call these different colours?
So the colours don't relate to income. So the colours relate to, rather than talk about one big area, because it's actually quite a diverse region, we've broken it up into geographic areas that allow us to, where there is a mix of businesses and experiences that make sense, and that allow us to talk about different areas in a similar way right across the region. So it doesn't relate to income. Where we see the largest number of operators buying into the business, into our organisation, is around the kind of blue area, and because that's where the mature part of the visitor economy is established, around Daylesford and Hepburn Springs. Certainly, as we go up into Kyneton, through into Woodend, Mount Macedon and those areas, there are significant buy-in from operators, and there is a relatively equal commitment from councils across the area. We're still finalising the details of all of that, but there is a uniformity into the way we see local government supporting this whole area, albeit that we're only just beginning conversations with the north of the area, which is Mount Alexander Shire, who is a new player coming into the region. Does that answer the question? Kind of?
Starts.
Yeah.
Do we have any idea for I mean, obviously Daylesford is the key asset, if you like, within DMR. Does it represent 80% of revenue for you, or 60%, or?
We don't. I guess we don't think of it like that. There are three sources of revenue for us as an organisation. One is state government, which is provided to cover the whole area. One is local government, and as I said, there's pretty good parity between all the councils that currently contribute. So the third part is our operators. Probably what I would say is our larger operators are generally based in the blue area. So we've got Lake House, we've got Peppers and some of those businesses. They, because of their scale, are able to contribute and buy into more of our activities. Other areas where there are small, real micro businesses are not able to contribute at the same level. But we really look at the number of operators that contribute rather than the money, because really operators are buying into a program where we deliver a series of benefits. Some can buy more benefits than others. But I would certainly say in the kind of centre of that whole map is where the bulk of our focus is in terms of buying from visitors, from businesses.
With the council, what I'm trying to understand what you're saying is at this stage you've only got Hepburn and Massey Ranges Shire to actually buy in.
Yep.
You're still negotiating with Alexander Shire.
Yep.
So there'll only be the 3 shires then involved at that level?
The core councils, which are Macedon and Hepburn, are buying in at a level that reflects, I guess, their profile within the region. Mount Alexander will, as we progress with those conversations, there's only a small part of Mount Alexander that's in the Shire, so our expectation of them will be commensurate with the piece of geography that relates to their Shire that's in our region. Equally with Moorabool, I haven't mentioned Moorabool, we are not including the whole of Moorabool. There's a whole area below that green area where it's primarily farming land. There's not a lot of tourism activity, so we're only really focusing on the part of Moorabool where we believe there is a strong synergy with our position as a wellness region, and where there are sufficient either businesses or visitor experiences like Ludadur Gorge and so on that we want to be included. Moorabool is a bit of a special case. They have contributed in the past. They're very open to having conversations moving forward. As I stand here today, they haven't yet put their hands in their pocket. But my chairman, Noel, who's sitting just there, and I are very focused on ensuring, given that Moorabool receive quite a number of benefits by being included in our region, that they step up and make a contribution. But yes, most important thing, Hepburn Shire and Macedon Ranges Shire are the 2 key partner councils for us as a region. Any other questions before I move on in terms of change of boundaries? Yeah.
So Judith, in the wrap-up, there will be 4 different shires included in our tourism regions, aren't there?
Yes, with 2 being, if you like, the senior partners and the other 2 being junior.
So you'll be aware that in Massey Ranges Shire we've just gone through a strategic plan review for the next 10 years, and or renamed Future Directions. It seemed there was a lot of industry input on that plan in the Massey Ranges Shire. It was lacking in some areas, particularly with regards to regional branding.
Yep.
And also in terms of really clear strategic direction. How do you, I mean, it seems very inefficient that 4 individual shires would be developing tourism plans independently for one region, which we're trying to build this now wellness branding. How is it that you think that this can be addressed? Because it really needs to all pull together now.
It does, and interestingly, Andrew, I've just had some conversations earlier today with Macedon Ranges Shire Council about this very point. It's not without its challenges, because there are 4 different councils who have their own focus, their own priorities that are well beyond tourism. Councils like Hepburn Council, I think, are very comfortable for us to really take the lead on the work that's done around the positioning of that particular shire around tourism. Macedon has a number of different priorities. One of them is the visitor economy, and we need to find ways that we can better integrate the thinking that goes on with that shire with the thinking that goes on more broadly across the region. There are a number of forums which I know that you're aware of. One of them is the local government forum that we've only just established in the last 12 months, where we bring all of those councils into a room together to start to talk about those issues, those opportunities. We haven't been able to schedule the next of those local government forums until we'd bedded down the financial commitments this year. That's just been done. And so the conversations I were having today is the need to now get on and get those local government, that local government forum together, because they want to work together. That's the really strong message that I've had this morning. So I take that as a really positive thing. The other thing that we get out of those local government forums are not only are the councils beginning to talk about cross-regional opportunities, it's also a chance for us to bring into the same room representatives from state government who have a stake in the visitor economy, RDV for example, because I think some of you might be our region, which I think does make us the most complex in the state, is that not only do we cover a number of local councils, local government areas, but we also cover 2 RDV regions, the Grampians region and the Loddon Valley region. And there's not a lot of joined up thinking between those 2 RDV regions, so that forum is an opportunity to not only get alignment between all the councils and make sure that they're all pulling in the right direction, but to get RDV into the mix, because Regional Development Victoria, quite frankly, is where the money is within state government for the visitor economy, to make sure that they're in alignment with the work that we're doing collectively.
I think just on that one, though, that if with these various groups, if it's they've all informed the ultimate strategic plan for the region, everyone's on message,
yep.
And councils and stakeholders in the region get on with implementation and facilitating the realisation of that plan, because there's a lot of talking, there's a lot of planning, there's a lot of money, and there's little result on that level. You know, we've been through 12 months of this now in Masset Ranges, and we're still not there. So it's disappointing to see that we're not all in sync, but I think that's probably one of the major goals we have to get to.
It is, and our region is not alone with that challenge. Some of the other regions that have a degree of complexity in terms of their local government relationships find that one of the challenges. Not least of which, because as we all know, whilst we can build good relationships and get strong engagement at staff level within councils, you only need to change at council or level, and you've got to start the whole process again. So one of the things that one of our other forums, our industry forum, which Andrew's part of, has been talking about, is that, which we're working on in the next few weeks, is to develop a communication strategy for how we engage councillors and other stakeholders in appreciating the value of the visitor economy in this region. And I'm sure you've all heard the figures. 1 in 3 jobs in this region is related to the visitor economy. If the visitor economy doesn't fly, regionally, the economy is not going to fly. So we just need to look at how we can continually ensure that we're having understanding and engagement at council or at elected official level, as well as staff level. So that's a work in progress, Andrew. But we're very conscious of the need to continue that effort. I'll just touch very briefly on this, and again, this is just underpinning the wellness positioning that we are focused on. It really comes out of some work done back in 2009 when Daylesford was promoted as the hero destination in the region, and it was supported by the investment from state government in the Leader Double Life campaign. We then did quite a bit of work engaging with businesses, engaging with councils right across the region, and it became very clear that spa and well-being positioning, that kind of indulgent, romantic spa positioning, which was very Daylesford at the time, the further you got away from Daylesford, the less relevant that positioning felt. And so we really wanted to find a positioning that it doesn't matter where you are in our piece of Victoria, in our region, or what business you're operating or what the experience is. We needed to find a catch-all that allowed people to feel they were part of the brand positioning of the region. So we landed on this positioning of wellness, and we've been really testing this over the last 12 months, and the more we've tested it both at state government level, at local council level and at operator level, business level, everyone has said, yeah, we get that, we understand it, and that feels right for this region. What I love about it is that, and I think we are the envy of other regions, because other regions have really struggled to find this kind of one brand positioning that allows anything else to come in under it. For me, and I think for what's been reaffirmed as we've had the conversations around the region, is it doesn't matter what experience we're talking about, whether it's food and wine, or whether it's spa and indulgence, or whether it's arts and culture or nature-based experiences. All of those experiences actually relate to the concept of wellness. It's a really good kind of catch-all. And most importantly, state government love it as a positioning, because there is no other region, certainly in Victoria, that could claim to be the wellness region of the state. And I actually think that increasingly, nationally, we can occupy that space. So I'm just going to take you onto this. So you'll see at the top of this, we're now referring to ourselves, because if you say it, it will happen, as Australia's leading wellness region. Let someone come and tell me we're not, because I think we've got a really good claim on that. So we're now increasingly, that is how we're positioning ourselves when we talk to media, when we talk to other stakeholders. And therefore we see our role as the Tourism Board as being responsible for that strategic positioning. And the focus is on delivering authentic, diverse experiences that physically, culturally and spiritually deliver nourishing experiences. So most importantly, and this is that clarity that I think, Andrew, you're referring to, that we need to get everybody to understand and start to live, is we know our core brand promise, which is about experiences that promote wellness. We know our brand distinction, and that is that we have a rich, diverse natural setting within close proximity to Melbourne, really important. And we know our core target market, which are the high yield markets in Melbourne and surrounds. So we have absolute clarity about what we're doing, and that helps then inform all of the activities that we'll be running in the next 12 months. One of the things that we're including in the prospectus, so this information will be in the documents that Kerry brings around and talks to you about, is just a snapshot of our visitors. I'm really conscious that we talk often about numbers, X number of people come, and this is how much they spent in the region, and so on. But I thought, let's get under the little bit and understand who our visitors are, and what do they do when they're here. So the first thing, which I referred to earlier, is this region has seen phenomenal growth in tourism and visitation into the region. So it is, we're sitting at just under 4 million visitors at the moment, and certainly when I started 3.5 years ago, I think the region had been sitting at about 3 million for quite a number of years. That had been quite static, that number. So we're beginning to see a real step up in our visitation. Visitors stayed 3.2 million nights. Nights are the holy grail, because if people stay overnight, they're spending more money. So we love that. And the good news is that our spend is, our number of visitor nights are up nearly 21% year on year. So that's a really good number. So when we have our visitor stats reports, which are all available on our corporate website if you want to get the quarterly details that sit under these numbers, one of the things that the National Visitor Survey does, a methodology that's run by Tourism Research Australia, is they also ask, what is the purpose for the visit? Why are people coming to each area? So this is the snapshot of domestic overnight visitors to our region. The purpose for their visit is, holiday is the big one over there, but also visiting friends and relatives is quite a big purpose for visit to this area. Interestingly, quite a good chunk for business, and then a lovely catch-all for other, which is only a small percentage for us. But certainly those three reasons for our domestic overnight visitors take up the larger proportion of our visitors. On average, visitors spend just over $200 a night, so you can start to see how the numbers work. Per person. Okay. So activities for... so we looked, that first one was reasons for coming. This one is about what do they do when they're here. The categories are set categories that are run by as part of the National Visitor Survey. So the big ones for our domestic overnight visitors are they eat out, which is great for our restaurants and cafes. They visit friends and relatives. Sightseeing is a good one. Shopping for pleasure is good to see up there, as well as pubs and clubs. Pubs and clubs might not feel right for our region, but it's a category that relates to the visitor survey, so just think about that in the context of what we do have on offer in the region. So a good mix of activities that people do while they're here, And the next one we then looked at was domestic day trips. And we are a strong day trip region because of our proximity to Melbourne. Yield is not as great for our day trip visitors, but still they spend on average $86 per visitor. So it's not a small market. So what do they do when they're here? Equally, as with our overnight visitors, they eat at restaurants and cafes. That's great. Visit friends and relatives, sightseeing, shopping for pleasure is there. But now we start to see nature walks, which didn't come through in the earlier one. So those nature-based experiences, we have 45,000 hectares of wombat state forest in this region, and we really need to sell that as a great opportunity for experience for people in Melbourne. I was talking to someone the other day about the growth of, for anyone who drives into Melbourne through Docklands, the growth of apartments that's happening right through Melbourne. And if you think about people living in apartments with no outside area and never getting out of that urban environment, the fact that we're only 90 minutes down the road and able to offer those kind of nature-based experiences, I think, is increasingly going to become one of our great assets and attractions. International visitors. We do talk about the fact that as a region we don't have huge international numbers. Nevertheless, we are seeing some growth. So we received just under 100,000 international visitors in the 12 months gone, which is up by 12% on the previous year. And I thought it would be interesting, just because people talk all the time about who are our international visitors and where are they coming from. This is the snapshot of where they're coming from. Kerry, we've got 2 New Zealands up there.
That's my fault.
You'll notice I referred to Kerry then.
My fault.
I think that is supposed to be USA.
Oh, yes, down on the...
Yeah.
Oh, they're all New Zealanders, aren't they?
So the big blue one is right, which is New Zealand. The second New Zealand is in fact America, USA, UK, mainland China. We are actually getting some good numbers from mainland China. And smaller numbers as we get elsewhere. Other Asia we've got there, other Europe, and then other countries. Don't ask me who's in that other small section called other. Africa, there we are. So we're getting a good spread. The traditional markets for us have for a very long time been New Zealand, US and UK. And it will be very interesting to see how we can continue to track those numbers in particularly the Asian areas. One of the things that I've had a conversation with Tourism Research Australia about, and again we're not the only region that's challenged with this, is that we know with this region that the bulk of international visitors coming here are coming as free and independent travellers. They're not coming with the group tours. And a lot of the visitation that's happening in regional Victoria is coming off the back of the growth of international students in Melbourne, who then have the families and friends coming to visit them. So they're not always being picked up in the methodology that relates to international visitors. However, that's one of the things that we will continue to work with TRA to try and find a better way to truly capture the numbers of international visitors that are coming here. Because intuitively, and off the feedback I get from a lot of businesses, I actually think we are getting more than what these numbers reflect. But at least we're able to compare apples with apples when we're looking at our growth in respect of other regions. So just a little bit more detail that sits under the skin of who's coming here and what they're doing when they're here. So now I'm going to hand over to Kerry. Kerry has the flu, so be kind to Kerry. He's going to take you through, but I will jump in and save her if she needs to saving. So just let me give you that.
Is this a group hug?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There we go. There.
Okay, yeah, that's beautiful. Okay, I'm just going to take this. Thank you everyone for coming along today. There's quite a number of new faces and I just want to say welcome to the crew. We run these events every quarter and once a year the event is actually replaced with a conference. So thanks a lot for coming along. It's a great opportunity to actually share information and along with our monthly newsletter, which we put a lot of effort into. So sort of have a look at that and you'll know what we're working on. This is directly out of this year's prospectus. What I do is I spend about 4 to 5 months of my life out visiting you beautiful people, dropping in, making a time to come and talk to you about what we're doing this year and what plans we have to actually get some more marketing done for our region. So this year we've made some fantastic changes to the partnership. We've received some great feedback to the package, and I hope that you love it because we've put years of work into this, and I really feel that if I have a look at what our competition is doing, and our competition is the Mornington Peninsula and the Yarra Valley, or Melbourne. I can go and see a great winery in Melbourne, I can go and get a nice day spa in Melbourne. What we're putting together here is really, really focusing on people in our region to get them to come back, and also to the people in where our audience is in Melbourne to actually to get them to come and visit and inspire and educate them. So really, you'll have a prospectus when you leave today. I didn't want to hand it out now because I thought that all you buggers might just sit there and read it while I'm talking to you. So I'm not going to allow that, okay? And I do apologise that my linguistics, I'm not speaking very well. It's just because I'm a bit ill. So now, as I just mentioned, we want to increase dispersal. As much as you guys were all just talking about, you know, what is the main focus. As most of you know, we have PR, we have media throughout the whole region. I spend a lot of time, we all spend a lot of time travelling and understanding what the really unique experiences are, whether they're small or large, in the whole entire region. And that's why you need to tell us about them. It's not just focused in one area. But what we need to do is to have tools available in region to actually allow that dispersal. So I'll talk to you about those in a moment. We also need to motivate and inspire people to come. So this is where we're going to focus on our main demographic, which is based in Melbourne. We know where they live, we know what car they'd like to drive, and we know how many children they don't have or how many children they'd like to get away from. And we also would like to focus on our specialised. So just a raise of hands of who attended our conference this year. Fabulous, okay, about half. So what we focused on there is we had those breakout groups focusing on specialised tourism. So that's whether it be the wedding market or whether it be the business events market. So conferences, 82% of conferences are actually 30 people or less. So they're very welcome in our region. And they typically come back and bring the wife or come back and bring the husband or their best friends. So it's a really important area for us to focus on that. Judith, feel free to jump in. I made it up. I didn't. It is correct. Okay. So this year, once again, what we're doing is one thing that was really successful last year, because the majority of our businesses in the region are quite micro. The majority are micro. A minority are actually large businesses. We have 2 businesses in the region that are actually part of a larger organisation, and that is the RACV and that is Hepburn Bathhouse and Spa. And other than that, we're all just small businesses that own our business, and we just don't want to waste money. So what we're doing here is we've actually got a payment plan for the partnerships again this year. So the sooner you jump on board, the further we can actually split up the payment until the end of the financial year. Okay, so that was very successful last year, and it means we don't call you all the time. The essential package. So let's start at the beginning. Everything that's essential for you to be a partner with us. Last year was $385, and this year we've brought it down to $350 because we can afford to, okay? We're doing a lot of really exciting things, but it includes the basics. I've actually included in the prospectus how much each of those things would actually cost you if you actually just purchase them individually. But I believe the most important thing is what you're doing is you're just signing up to support us, and you understand how hard we're working to increase visitation. So that's your essential package. I don't think people typically understand that, most people in the room. The visitor guide. We were thinking about not doing it this year. We've changed our mind since, because it is such a successful tool in the region. So what we want to do is continue it, all the hard work over the last 3 years of actually creating it, because it's a very, very big document for such a small team to put together. It's sort of all in place now. We've got a great designer, design scope, and really all we need to do is just push the same one out. So 80,000 copies, mainly distributed in region, but we will also have those at visitor information centres throughout the country and also throughout the state. So when you're walking around, I just went to Margaret River recently. My whole goal was to stalk their marketing. I wanted to see what another region where people drive around, what tools do they have in place? They've got very, very deep pockets, and they actually own a number of the attractions like the caves. They also have a pretty magnificent ocean there as well. But what I found were people were walking around with just something nice and little so they could look through it and work out where to go next. So we're going to continue with this. It's a great tool. We'd love you to be part of it. Pricing is down there, so we haven't actually changed the pricing to be part of it. And this year I'm happy to say that Bromley and Co have taken the back cover. Regional touring map. Once again, although it has changed now because we've changed our area, we've kept the rates at the same price. We're doing another 80,000 copies. The next one will actually be so we're pretty particular about what we do. And the last one was in gloss. It killed us. But the next one is actually coming out in matte, and we're very excited about having these. And we've gone through 40,000 already. 40,000. We've just had to put a new print run in. So they're working well. They are of the whole region. They're not of little towns, but it will evolve because it's something new for us to do. Anything else there, Judith? Okay. I just talked about the business events demographic. This year, instead of putting our effort into creating a beautiful book, which is successful, what we would like to do is reduce the price and put a website up. Now, I don't know whether you guys have noticed, but we launched last week our first big website, our wedding website, which I'll come up to in a moment. What our plan is this year, before the end of this financial year, is to mirror the back end, you know how complicated websites are, mirror the back end and actually have it focused on business events. So we can actually get some LinkedIn social media marketing happening and put a whole background to get all that information, to really market that sector and get more people to visit for that reason. All right, so that's sort of watch this space with that. The wedding website. Since we went live with this last Monday, I think Miles has had 3 brides contact him. Brides to be, sorry. We're not set up for that yet, but it's a beautiful site. I've had another, I think, 30 operators call me and say, Kerry, it's fantastic, how do we get on? We're keeping the price quite low, again, $320 for the year, so you can actually break that up over a 3-month if you're only jumping on that. Another thing is that we're a hairdresser or a makeup artist who isn't actually a tourism business can actually jump on this as well. They don't need the essential package, okay? But we're really excited about this website. It's so fabulous. I remember when I first started in this role about 4.5, 5 years ago, I went to visit Tourism Victoria, they were called, and I walked in and I sat with their digital and marketing team and I said, so let's talk about weddings. And they went, oh, that's not tourism. We don't focus on weddings. So we're showing them how to do it. So I'm really excited about that.
Can I just jump in there?
Yes.
Give you a little break.
Okay.
And I'm just mentioning this because it's come up quite a few times when I have been talking with various parties about this. When you go on and have a look at this website, you'll see that we've got a section for same-sex marriage. We as a business are supporting marriage equality in Australia, and we would encourage all businesses to get behind it. We believe, of course, we're not only Australia's leading wellness region, we should be Australia's leading region for same-sex marriage when it becomes legal. There are many businesses who are already supporting this and are very keen for that positioning. So the more businesses can get behind ourselves to really push that would be great, because it will be a lucrative market for us as and when it finally becomes law.
Thank you, Jeff. We're just trying to get some fantastic photographs together at the moment, so it is a challenge, but we'll get there. I'd like to congratulate Miles too on a fantastic job of getting that website up as well as everything else you do, mate. Legend. Okay, drum roll. I don't know, the people that last year signed up with us, you would know that we did 3 inserts into the Weekly Review in Melbourne. We did 750,000 little mini magazines that went into a free press publication in 3 sort of suburb areas of the hipsters in Northcote, Fitzroy, Carlton, also in South Yarra, Paran and that area, and also on this side, which was Moonee Ponds, Essendon, Keilor. So we actually printed out 3 publications, and each of them went exactly the same people. So they heard about us and they saw our branding 3 times. We inspired them. It was very successful for us. This year, we're going to change it up a bit. We are actually going to create a magazine for each season, starting for autumn next calendar year. So on the 17th of February next year, we will have a magazine in Saturday's Age. So in Saturday's Age is just under 200,000, and we will have another 50,000 copies to distribute for that season in region. So autumn will be promoted and distributed into the state, people who buy the Saturday Age, focusing on the next season. Okay, so when school's back and everyone's freaking out and they're trying to plan their next holiday, they'll be thinking of us. Why are we doing this? The visitor guide is quite a static document. If you read, it's all in one voice. What we want to do is actually put some excitement around the festivals. What you should be doing in autumn in our region. You need to be going to Mount Macedon. You need to be, doing all these other fabulous experiences. You need to go to the festivals. Chill Out's on. It's pretty big actually, autumn. Pardon? Seriously, we could all just yell something out. There is so much that goes on actually in autumn, and then we've actually done a storyboard of winter as well, already planning for the next. So we're going to talk about what to buy in autumn and do photographs of them. We're going to have different writers, we're going to have different interviews, we're going to focus on food and wine, we're going to focus on wellness, and it's going to be a fantastic way to actually inspire and get people in the car and up to our region. So we're actually planning and we've strategised on doing this for 2 years. We really think it's going to be massive because no one else does it. And at the moment, Mornington Peninsula are on the phone to the weekly review saying, we want to do what Dalesford and Macedon Rangers did last year. So we're really excited about moving forward with this. And it's not the most important thing, but it is very expensive. Do you know that a full page ad in the Age on a Saturday is $50,000? So we can't, no one can afford to do that. We need to make sure that there's heaps of editorial in this. And so what we've done is we've put together some pricing. Like as an example, if you're an accommodation provider, a small one, and you want to get into that market without focusing on digital, because people book before they come typically, don't they? So how do you actually get in? People will open this and they'll see that there's some accommodation providers on a single suite, and it's $260 to be in the Age on a Saturday for one edition. So I'm really trying to price everything at a good rate here. We've got a couple of, we have a number of operators in our region that have the deeper pockets that could afford to actually promote in the Age in these full pages. But a third of a page is, I think it's $1,600. And again, if you pay for that over a duration of months, it's actually a really nice way to market to that demographic, okay? And as I said, there's going to be fantastic editorial in there as well. Judith, anything else you'd like to add?
No, are there any comments on that? It's a new thing for us, but it's a new thing for regions to be doing this on a regular basis.
So you won't be doing the weekly, this is instead of?
This is replacing it. Yeah, so it's sort of the next step up. Mm-hmm. It's a lot more. People are paying money to buy this publication, and we believe that our demographic actually goes and buys the Age. If they're going to buy a paper, they'll buy the Age. I should just tell you about it. Inside Saturday's Age, it's called, what's that magazine called, Judith, that's in it?
Good Weekend.
Sorry, my brain. Good Weekend. Good Weekend. It's actually the same width, but it's actually a square. So when you open it, it's actually a really beautiful editorial sweep. So, very excited. Are you all excited?
Yes.
Yeah, we're very interested in your stories. I cannot tell you enough how interested we are in your stories today, tomorrow, at all times. So if you have something that is happening now, please let us know. Sally is just on the phone trying to get as many stories and information from you guys as what we can. We've got media here every weekend. So the more stories we have to push out about things that are happening, the better off we're going to be. We're going to increase visitation. But another thing that Visit Victoria are really focusing on is what is a short-term activity or event or supply that really you have to come now because it's going to be over until the same time next year. Really pushing that, and that's really going to complement what's in these seasonal magazines, like mushrooms, truffles, budburst. There are all these exciting things that are happening. And it's like, why do I live here? Because we have seasons. That's what we do have over other areas in Australia. So Any other questions there? Please, everyone settle down. I know you're excited. Laura.
You may have mentioned already, but just wondering exactly what the demographic is of the Saturday age that we are targeting.
Well, it's typically people that... do you know the actual full demographics?
No, it's in my head, but the target that we're after is the single income no kids and double income no kids. There's no doubt that and a range of age groups. So we know that the general readership of the age tends to fall into the demographic that we're focused on, coming out of the conversation we've had both with them but also with Visit Victoria. The other thing that we like about the Saturday Age is for any of you who sit in cafes in Melbourne on the weekends, most cafes have the paper, but it's the colour magazines that sit around and are read by everybody. So that's why it's an easy way for us to get into some of those locations. We've talked about whether we could get a distribution strategy that would say that we would go around and deliver magazines to cafes. That's cost prohibitive. So we think the Age is one of the more cost-effective ways of doing it. Yep.
Oh, Lockie, I'm not moving. I'd just like to thank Lockie and Laura as well. Isn't it a wonderful place to be in here? I just feel funky being here. I feel younger too. No. Oh, here we go. There we go. No. There we go. Okay. Visual content. Oh. There we go. Whew. Visual and textual content. I can't tell you enough how important it is that we actually share information online that articulates our region, whether it be words, whether it be photographs, or whether it be video. So last year we did offer this. We offered a couple of options for textual and visual content, but this year I'm going to really push it with the operators, because the more that we have, the more quality photographs that we have, and the more information we have about you, whether you're a winemaker, whether you've got this special time limited event or activity, the more that we have information about this, the more we can push out to PR. And the more media visits we receive and the more information you'll receive on social media. It increases visitation, undoubtedly. So this year what we're doing is we're starting off with video. And there are some really, really inspirational words down the bottom there, but I'll tell you what they are later. We went out to the market and we worked with a couple of video suppliers, people who actually, put video together, inspirational, really good quality video, guys. We're not talking about... we want video that Tourism Australia are begging us to actually share. And that's the organisation we're dealing with here, an organisation called Burning House. Ooh, brain's working. Burning House, and what they've done is they've created 3 packages that I feel, it paid off over the next financial year, are actually going to be quite viable for the small, medium operators in our region. So we have sample videos for each of these different categories, and they'll be up on our website at the beginning of next week, all right, just so you know. But the basic promo is $1,800, and that we'll actually provide you with a video that you can put on your website and how to put it on your website with the instructions, and also how to put it on Facebook, and it'll also have what they call a snack size of the video. So something that really inspires people to go, wow, check that video out, as they're on their phone. Then they click it and they can watch the whole video. So the first one actually goes for 45 seconds. I personally believe, after watching it, Miles and I actually went to Visit Victoria and met with their digital and video manager on Thursday for 2 hours to actually understand what they're doing and how they're progressing. How can we get our operators' videos into their promotion environment on digital? So we know that we showed them the samples of the videos, so we know that they're absolutely stoked with the quality. And the results of this is that you will actually have video that you'll share with us so we can push it out as well. Okay, so that's what we've put here in place. So the first one is very basic, very mood, very inspiring, no words, just lovely music, and it's beautiful. The second one is an interview where it starts with a bit of a, hi, my name's Kerry Clark, how are you all going? And then the music comes in and there's pictures of your beautiful business. And it's really magnificent. And then finally, if it's really important for you to actually have drone and a little bit more effort put into this, there is one that's more expensive as well. But this is the type of price that you are paying for good quality. And Brian Wilson was in a recent meeting that we had. His industry is actually video, and he was really quite impressed with the pricing that we have in place, guys. So you'll be able to just check out samples of what it looks like, as I said, next week. Any questions about video? Is anyone interested in video? Come on, come on. But you realise that it is a magnificent... If you are actually on Facebook now and you see a video, do you click it and watch it when it's about dogs and cats?
If you do, it won't work. The internet's not very good.
No, this is typically for people out of region to inspire and educate them on what's going on in our region. Great, thank you.
Will DMR have something, a video on the region?
It is the plan that we're actually going, and what we would like to do is take snippets out of the ones that other people are actually putting together as well to actually come up with something ourselves. This is the first time we've endeavoured to actually move in this direction with a form of marketing, so it's quite new to us as well. But fortunately, we have a producer in our region who is an international producer who will actually project manage all of the results. Who'd be contacting you, confirming that you need to wash your hair, make sure the bench is clean, and make sure you've got some clean flowers out, and really to process and organise everything so it's successful. Did you have?
I'm just going to back up on that. There's a statistic out there, especially because we're in a luxury holiday. A luxury video on, especially social media and websites, gets about a 78% hit rate when they watch it over static or flat images. So when they watch a luxury holiday video, the rate of people booking is dramatically higher than others.
Fantastic. Did you have anything to add, Miles?
In our discussions with Visit, they were looking at how successful video is and the durations for those videos as well. And one thing that really is standing out to them at the moment is if you can get your message across in 5 seconds, then that's going to be a successful video, with a longer video being 30 seconds or 60 seconds. So what we're looking at, and this is under the guidance of Visit Vic, is gathering images within this process and then taking some of those snack-size videos and stitching them together to be specific to a little part of the region. So looking for videos that they were talking about that really work, and they're talking about social reach, is something like, for example, the time-lapse of some bread rising, or shots of some kangaroos, or those really, they could be anywhere, shots, but we link them back to the region through the comments, whatever channel it goes out via. And we feel that in this process we have that opportunity to gather some of those snippets, and they'll also go into the Visibic library, which they're doing their own manually cutting up things and creating those little snippet videos to go out. So we are moving into that snack size video reality. It seems a bit, I guess, empty of meaning in a way, because they're just these little moments, but that's how people are sharing content and viewing content these days. So if we can get visible in that space, then our chance to get seen as a region is really greatly improved. So we're pretty excited about this approach.
Yeah, we are very excited. All right, words, what's your story? Once again, we're not all wordsmiths, that includes myself. But to actually just have somebody to come out and actually watch a story, or to talk about a certain festival, or to talk about, you know, other things that are happening in your business, we can actually get somebody to come out and do that for you. And it's always great to have it on your website as well. But also as a PR, if you say, Sally, we're about to open, we really want you to do a push on in media, or we've got a brand new product, Sally, can you help us? Sally unfortunately can't be here, she's in Italy and England at the moment, poor bugger. We actually need something that's written well, because it's so great for us to push that out. And also, as far as video goes, if we actually have video promoting your business and we share that with, you know, Gourmet Traveller or one of the other large publications, they love video, they will come. Yes. And finally, photography. We've got a couple of packages there. If you don't have great photography, we can certainly help you out there. Again, you know, a picture tells 1,000 words, and it's all image-based, video, image. We really need to have some magnificent photography. So I hope you all do have some to share with us, or can certainly consider this. All we're doing here is project managing these things, guys. We're not here... If you can actually take up any of these options, it's only going to increase all of our success. This isn't something that we're not making money, it's just to provide the service to you guys. And then finally, if you become a partner of ours, we do have hundreds and hundreds of images already on our image library, which you can use today. I don't know if you know that, but there's beautiful images there. I think that's about it from me, other than I will be on the road starting next week when I've killed this flu, and I'm going to drop in and see how everything's going in your business and see if you're interested in any of these packages. And I've got the prospectuses over here if you wanted to take a look through them. Okay? Beautiful. Thank you. Oh.
Kerry has got bad flu, so well done, Kerry, for getting through that. So just to wrap up, I guess the thing I would say is that as an organisation, we are completely committed to this idea of wanting to innovate in everything that we do. We have limited resources, certainly in comparison to some of the other regions. Our financial base is relatively, in fact, I think it's one of the smallest of the state. So we have to punch above our weight in terms of resources. And I love the fact that when we did the new visitor guide 3 years ago, now many regions across the state are copying it. When we did the weekly review inserts last year, to have a region like Mornington Peninsula now copying it makes me feel great. But my board and my chairman in particular always says to us, well, you've done that, what's the next big thing? So every year we're just trying to think about what are some of the new ways that we can achieve our goal, which is to increase visitation, increase yield, do things in a slightly innovative way, because the tourism industry is constantly changing and consumers are constantly changing in their expectations. So we genuinely think, from all the conversations that we've had, including those with Visit Victoria, that the seasonal magazines are the next big leap for us as a region, but more importantly, no other region is doing it. I have no doubt that within 12 months other regions will start to do it, and the challenge for us collectively, as well as for us as an organisation, is so what will the next big thing be? We do want to commit to those seasonal magazines for about 2 years, because we really need to, we think it'll take that long for it to be accepted in the market before it gets stale, which is why we thought about not doing visitor guides again, because we've already done them 3 years, but the feedback that we get is they still have power, they still have value in the region in terms of dispersal. So in the spirit of innovation, if anyone does have any great ideas, throw them at us, because we're always welcome of new ideas. And in fact, the weekly review inserts, if I think back where we were over 12 months ago, actually came out of an industry briefing that we were holding, and one of the questions was asked to us, well, how do you get our visitor guides into the letterboxes of people in Melbourne? Well, to do that would be prohibitively expensive, and so the weekly review inserts were just a way of starting to respond to that question that was asked of us. So any feedback, any questions, any thoughts are really gratefully received. So really that was a run through of what our marketing focus is going to be for the next 12 months that we do in partnership with all of our industry operators. Be assured that there are many other things that we do as a regional tourism board to help cement that positioning of Australia's leading wellness region across many different activities. Some of those are around product development, and I know over the last 12 to 18 months we've talked variously about some of those product development opportunities. Those things tend to have a slow burn because inevitably they are related to state government funding, which is a slow process, or it's related to prospectus to try and attract inward investment from the private sector, which tends to be a relatively slow process. We're fortunate that we've had a number of business cases done over the last 12 months for a number of opportunities, and we're just working with various state government partners right at the moment to look at how they can start to land in the next little while. Probably the most exciting of all of them. They're all exciting, but the most exciting is the one that relates to this idea of establishing a world-class major new festival in the region, which would be a wellness festival. We know that government are really excited about it. We've even had feedback that the Premier is aware of this idea and thinks that it would be a great thing for the state. And if it's going to be anywhere in the state, this region is the place to do it. So we're just in the process of toing and froing the state government over what level of funding they're prepared to provide. I have no doubt that they will provide a level of funding. And the minute we do that and we start to announce that and to roll that out, we think that will be an opportunity to really shout from the rooftops about what our region has to offer, being the wellness region. So some of those things are a watch this space, but be assured that we're working very hard behind the scenes, over and above the things that we do on the marketing front, to really position this region as a leading region generally, but really a leading region nationally in that wellness space. So we thought we might leave the last few minutes, and I know we've had quite a lot of questions through the meeting. Noel, you've got a question. Comment? Yeah.
To the end.
Yes, depends what your comment is going to be. I was just going to say, if there are any questions from any of you, more than happy to answer them now or grab us individually.
You showed Garden Visit Victoria, but by the name. What's happened with funding? Has that been cut back? The funding provided by Visit Victoria, has that been cut back?
No, our funding, when they moved from being Tourism Victoria to Visit Victoria, which was just over 12 months ago now, it's also the point that they committed to a new 3-year agreement with all of the regional tourism boards. We were fortunate that at that moment we received a small increase, and I'll say fortunate because some regions received a small decrease, so we did quite well out of that. That's now set for 3 years, and this year is our second year of that funding. So we know where we are this year and next year. Our job, again led by the board, is going to be to convince state government when it comes to the next 3-year agreement that we don't want to see just a small increase, we'd like to see a big increase. But we all know that this is a tough funding environment. It's the lead into election, there are lots of opportunities, but the good news is that where we are right now is quite a good position from the state government point of view.
Judith, can I just, would you just like to talk about the EDM that we sent out?
Yes, so we've skipped over some of the general things that we do, but there's a whole range of other activities. Kerry's touched on the PR program that we run, which again we do very in close partnership with Visit Victoria. We also run a social media program, and we also run a program with focusing on the database that we've developed through the relationship with Visit Victoria, the website. visitvictoria.com. As part of our process of speaking to our database, we do a quarterly EDM, which I'm sure many of you have seen, and in each of those EDMs we try and include a competition as a way to really get people to engage with us, not just read about us. I think this is the 3rd year that we're doing the competitions. Over the last couple of years, on average, we've been getting about between 3,000 and 5,000 entries into those competitions, which we were delighted about because they've been growing. I think we hit a very high watermark at 9,000 entries to last EDM. We've just completed the current EDM that went out, and we included a competition for overnight accommodation at Clifftops in Dalesford. Dinner at the Argus, and Lavangela was in there as well, the Lavender Farm, I think that was it. And a mineral spa experience. We had 13,000 entries, which is extraordinary. and certainly Visit Vic, was just over 13,000.
I think so. I was thinking it was 16 now.
16.
Miles thinks it was 16. I know it wasn't 16 because I would be over the moon. No, I think it was just over 13,000. So 16,000 is your next target, Miles. But that's certainly great for us as a region. There are people that are actually engaged.
16,031.
Oh, there you go. I was wrong. We've been quoting the right.
We have.
16,100. So your next target's 20,000. But Visit Victoria have been blown away by that. Are really, really, really interested in what we are doing in that space in terms of the way we're connecting with people. Every one of those entries becomes a new name on our database, so our database is actually growing exponentially, and we'll continue to do those on a quarterly basis. We're always looking for kind of innovative ideas for competitions, so if any of you have got any ideas that you'd like to offer through for the competition, some of the standout ones for me was the one we did that included the hot air ballooning. That one had a really good response. The llama trekking up Mount Macedon competition had a really good response. So there just needs to be slightly quirky things that just capture people's attention. But they are a really, really effective way of marketing to interested people in this region. Any other Catherine?
In terms of preparedness across region for marriage equality, you've got hashtags or things that you'd like us to do as operators to have a cohesive message in that space?
Yeah, right now in terms of supporting marriage equality, what we're encouraging everyone to do is to go on to marriageequality.com, australiamarriageequality.com.au, I think it is, and there is a package there that individual businesses could look at how they want to we seem to be standing up in support of it. There's a logo that you can include on your websites and your marketing material and so on. So right at the moment, given that we're in the run-up to the I was going to call it the plebiscite, it's not, it's the postal vote, we want to be seen to be behind that, but equally we want businesses to be behind that as well. So I would encourage everybody to go onto that.
But a regional hashtag is not a bad way to own. I think it's quite a good point rather than a general marriage equality. If you wanted to consider that.
Yeah, we'll take that on board, but also think about kind of post-election, depending on what happens, how we can again start to really own that space. So thank you for that. Noel, I might hand over to our illustrious chairman, Noel Harvey, who I think is known to many of you.
Thanks, Julia. Thanks, Kerry. Great presentation tonight, and I have the...
I'm just going to put that there.
Oh, okay. I just want to say thank you. You've only had a very small taste of the work that we do, our organisation does, tonight, and it's impressive what you've seen. There's a huge amount of work that goes on behind this. I know most of you would appreciate that. Judith and her team, there's a team of 5. Judith's the only full-time person there. So we have a very, very small team of people who do an amazing amount of work on your behalf as an industry. I can tell you without hesitation that we have probably the most dynamic team here in the Darlington Macedon Ranges. I interchange constantly with chairs all around the state and look at what's going on in all the other regions. And I can tell you our team is head and shoulders above the rest around the state. And I think you've seen the consequences of the work that these guys are doing to actually for you and your colleagues around the region. So look, I just want to acknowledge that because they do, and believe that we're actually moving office this week too. So all this has been put together while in the middle of moving office. We're moving to a better office that's more accessible and so on. So this has all happened and been put together while we are, I'm not, they are, doing all the packing and the moving. And I spoke to Jill on the phone 2 days ago. She was the only one in the office surrounded totally by boxes. So that's the environment they've been working on the last week. So Judith, you and your team, on behalf of everybody else here, I want to say thank you for an amazing job that you and your team do for the industry. And please have a serious read and have a chat to Kerry. There's some marvellous information here for you. Please take advantage of it because the results speak for themselves. We are leading the state in results. Everybody else comes up to me when I meet with the other chairs, say, how on earth are you achieving the figures that you're achieving? The growth numbers in our region are truly astounding. And for me, when we produced that first visitor guide 3 years ago, I said, well, we're going to have to do better next time, and every year they keep doing something better because all the other regions are hot on our heels. As Judith's already pointing out, Mornington, who I interchange with very, very regularly, I speak to the chair down there probably once a week. They are looking very close at what we do, and everybody's following us. You need to be really proud of that, because I think the outcomes that we've been able to achieve, Judith and her team have been able to achieve, are astounding, and the challenge will be to stay ahead of the game. Yep, what's it going to be next time? Yeah, we've got a couple of years of breathing space now, because I think we've been able to pull together an extraordinarily good deal for you, in particularly in relation to these inserts into the aids. I can't wait to hear the comments that all the other regions have to say when these things land in their lap. I'm really looking forward to that. So please make sure you talk to Kerry. She'll be busting to sign you up for some part of the program. And please, if you can spread the word anywhere else in the region, that would be really much appreciated. So look, a final thank you to Motobean, who've hosted us tonight. This is an amazing place. If you haven't been here before, have a look around, talk to Lockie, etc., and find out a little bit about it, because this is an amazing little business here in our region, and it's fantastic to see so many creative things happening. So thanks very much. Thank you for coming. We really do appreciate it. Judith and team, thank you so much for all your good help.
Yes.